have only to the stroke of 12, and the spell will be broken, and everything will be as it was before. Because if you tell a wish, it won't come true. And after all...
What do you think about when you hear the name Cinderella?
I think about the Disney movie, The Cinderella. Enchanted love, forbidden to be together in the beginning, and finding your inner beauty and strength.
Oh, I loved it growing up.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it growing up.
So she's a good role model for those who have to overcome adversity.
I loved the Disney version as a child. That was before I knew about the original version, and I read the original version.
You always read about it. The plumber with 12 children who wins the Irish sweepstakes, from toilets to riches, that story. Or the nursemaid, from luscious sweet from Denmark, who captures the oldest son's heart, from diapers to Dior, that story. Or a milkman who serves with the wealthy eggs, cream, butter, yogurt, milk, the white truck like an ambulance who goes into real estate and makes a pile. From homogenized to martinis at lunch, or the charred woman who is on the bus when it cracks up and collects enough from the insurance, from mops to bonnet teller, that story. Once, the wife of a rich man was on her deathbed, and she said to her daughter Cinderella, "Be devout, be good, then I will smile down from heaven in the seam of a cloud." The man took another wife who had 2 daughters, pretty enough, with the hearts like blackjacks. Cinderella was their maid. She slept on the sooty hearth each night and walked around looking like Al Jolson. Her father brought presents home from town, jewels and gowns for the other women, but the twig of a tree for Cinderella. She planted that twig on her mother's grave, and it grew to a tree where a white dove sat. Whenever she wished for anything, the dove would drop it like an egg upon the ground. The bird is important, my dears, so heed him. Next came the ball, as you all know. It was a marriage market. The prince was looking for a wife. All but Cinderella were preparing and gussing up for the big event. Cinderella begged to go too. Her stepmother threw a dish of lentils into the cinders and said, "Pick them up in an hour and you shall go." The white dove brought all his friends. All the warm wings of the fatherland came and picked up the lentils in a jiffy. "No, Cinderella," said the stepmother.
You have no clothes and cannot dance. That's the way with stepmothers. Cinderella went to the tree at the grave and cried forth like a gospel singer, "Mama, mama, my turtle dove, send me to the prince's ball." The bird dropped down a golden dress and delicate little gold slippers, rather a large package for a simple bird, so she went. Which is no surprise, her stepmother and sisters didn't recognize her without her cinder face, and the prince took her hand on the spot and danced with her the whole day. As nightfall came, she thought she'd better get home. The prince walked her home, and she disappeared into the pigeon house, and although the prince took an axe and broke it open, she was gone, back to her cinders. These events repeated themselves for 3 days. However, on the third day, the prince covered the palace steps with cobbler's wax, and Cinderella's gold shoe stuck upon it. Now he would find whom the shoe fit, and find a strange dancing girl for keeps. He went to their house, and the 2 sisters were delighted because they had lovely feet. The eldest went into a to try the slipper on, but her big toe got in the way, so she simply sliced it off and put on the slipper. The prince rode away with her until the white dove told him to look at the blood pouring forth. That is the way with amputations. They just don't heal up like a wish. The other sister cut off her heel, but the blood told as blood will. The prince was getting tired. He began to feel like a shoe salesman, but he gave it one last try. This time, Cinderella fit into the shoe like a love letter into its envelope. And at the wedding ceremony, the 2 sisters came to curry favor, and the white dove pecked their eyes out. 2 hollow spots were left, like soup spoons. Cinderella and the prince lived, they say, happily ever after, like 2 dolls in a museum case, never bothered by diapers or dust, never arguing over the timing of an egg, never telling the same story twice, never getting a middle-aged spread. Their darling smiles pasted on for eternity, regular Bobbsey twins, that story. How do you feel about Anne Sexton's version?
Closer.
So when I read a fantasy story, I don't want the dystopic version of it, where all of the fantasy and the fluff and the dream and the magical part of it is all stripped away. I want that varnish on my story. I want it shiny and glossy so I can escape the realism, and she puts all the realism back into it. So for that reason, I prefer the
translate it into the French for his class. It sounds like a product of our times, the 50s. And I think in the 50s, you know, it was sort of a happily ever after time after World War II, right? The invention of the washing machine. Lived before women's liberation. Okay? And everything was perfect, right? Everybody dressed the same way. You know, there was a sort of aura of perfection, right? Which is just on the surface because, you know, we have McCarthyism, Cold War, right?
I think Anne Sexton's Cinderella shows a more realistic version of love in the way it goes. It's not all fairy tale and birds flying. That's not love. That's not how it goes. Anne Sexton's, it shows work. It shows hard work. Like when the prince puts the cobbler's wax on the stairs, it shows how you have to work to get love. It just doesn't happen. I also think it tackles different types of relationships with people, like the way her father treats her. It shows that not everybody you come in contact with is going to be nice. Not everybody is going to be your friend. So it not only shows how love can be disappointing, but also relationships.
Also in Anne Sexton's version, when the stepsisters lied and told that the Prince Charming's the shoe belonged to them, they cut their toes off to make their feet fit in with the shoe. It just shows that anybody will do anything for love and to be happy. And in reality, it's not
When
like
I
that
think
at all.
of the Disney Cinderella, which I have watched over hundreds and hundreds of times, I used to think, okay, when I get married, when I go to the ball, I'm going to have this beautiful flowing dress and lots of makeup, and when I find that one, it's just going to be perfect, and there's going to be butterflies and big fur, and it's everything. And then until I read Anne Sexton's version, and I'm thinking, wow, this is completely different than what I when I read the story from Anne Sexton, that there's just so much blood and gore, and she makes it seem like there's no such thing as finding that perfect person, and that life isn't going to be as perfect as what you may think it was when you were a child.